before to order. If you're able, please rise and join us with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes of March 6th? If so, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is presented.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Guest and open forum. This evening we have a presentation from the Great River Regional Library. Hillary Dawson is here to do the annual presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to bring you this report. So let's see if I can manage the technology. Okay, so how many of you have a library card?
Ooh, I do.
Excellent, all right, so that makes my job easy here to go ahead and introduce Great River Regional Library as a whole. If you don't mind, I will go through a couple of things that we offer. So Great River Regional Library is one library system serving 6 counties through 32 individual branches. Great River's mission is to help people explore books and resources, learn skills, and connect community. Our core values are exceptional service, forward thinking, and community focus. We do this through the traditional means of putting a physical book or other resource into a person's hands, as well as offering digital resources to every age. Educational opportunities through Ask or Book a Librarian, homework help, and tech help are offered. I clearly need that. We are connecting with our community through the ways mentioned, as well as offering community outreach, educator request forms, and opportunities for volunteering, just to name a few. So if we take a look at GRL by the numbers, there are 92,000 borrowers in Great River as a whole. Sherburne County claims 16,000 of those, and Becker has 2,482 borrowers claiming Becker Library as their home library. Last year we circulated 2.4 million items and 396,000 digital circulations through Great River. Sherburne County circulated 316,000 items, and Becker circulated 54,000 of those. So Becker Library's impact, again, we have 2,482 borrowers claiming Becker Library as their home library. At the end of 2023, we housed 15,721 items. We had 9,466 checkout sessions, and we circulated 54,000 items. The door count was approximately 24,000, and we answered about 3,000 information requests. Last year's Summer Reading Challenge had 425 participants, and that's kiddos from birth to graduation. And last year's Winter Reading Challenge for our teens and adult borrowers, we had 40. We are open for 32 or 33 hours per week, as the schedule there shows. These are some of the programs that we offered last year. Tech Tuesdays for seniors is offered once a month. We also have a Tiny Tots program offered once a month. The next picture is Bruce the Bug Guy. He came in as a legacy program through our summer reading program. And then the next one is another legacy program. It was called Pedal to the Metal, where people got an opportunity to actually cast a metal casting. And then the next one is a flutist who came in and taught us how she flute loops. So she actually records herself and then plays alongside of her. And it was really an interesting pairing of technology and music. So it was very fun for our audience. The next one is Tiny Art. We had an art program that we did last summer for the kiddos again. And then once a month, we have Family Engineering Challenge, and that is the Rosie Revere one there. And then weekly, we do a story time on Tuesdays. That has become very popular. We're averaging numbers of about 30 a week. And then the last slide here is some of the outreach that we did last year. We were at the Sherburne County Public Health Family Celebration, and we also attended Barktoberfest. New for us in 2023, thanks to our locally grown campaign, we added the Play to Learn kits. So Play to Learn kits are kits that contain toys that were selected with active learning components, and we're finding them to be very popular. People are checking them out and sometimes just dumping them out at the library and sitting down and playing with their kiddos. So it has been really fun to see people engage with those. Some of the partnerships that we have, we partnered with Every Meal last year, and we also did some COVID test distribution. Do you have any questions?
I just had a question about the tech for seniors. Is that something you do in conjunction with the senior center? Because they meet on Tuesdays, I'm assuming?
We have not done it as an outreach here in Becker. We could possibly do that, but typically it's just done in-house in the library. And is staff-led, not by me. But we do have the opportunity as well, if it is something that we're not able to help them with, we can call in a librarian from St. Cloud, and they will come and meet for half an hour with someone. We just actually had that happen about a month ago, and the patron was very pleased with the results from that. Any other questions?
I enjoy your app, the Libby app, for audio
Yes.
books.
Are
Yeah.
you familiar with Hoopla?
No.
Hoopla is another app that we offer. It offers 4 borrows per month. They're instant. It's books, audiobooks, movies, music, great courses. You can get great courses for a week, and then magazines as well.
I like that you said instant.
It is instant, yes.
Yeah.
By the time you're done popping popcorn, it is on your TV.
Wow.
So, any other questions?
No. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Anyone else for guests in open forum? All right, we'll move into committee reports. Park and Rec, let's start with you. You had something very exciting to share.
Well, we really only talked about 2 items on a very long meeting. There was a panel of representatives from youth baseball that came and presented some requests and some of the stuff we had been talking about doing anyway. They also are in the position of helping pay for the stuff. And so, to make a long story short, what we've done is requested Josh and Chris to put a package together with what we want to do, what they're going to pay, what we would pay for, et cetera, and bring it to council. Actually come to an executive session first so we can discuss it. And then,
Fields or like concessions or what?
no, actually, some safety netting is the primary thing.
Okay.
If we do this over a period of time, there's like 5 requests that they have. But if we do it over a period of time, the primary one is a safety net. And then there's a couple other smaller things, but the safety net's a big deal. And like I said, they're gonna put a thing together, look at partnerships and also grants for doing some of this stuff. And it looks like it's gonna be something worthwhile by the time we get done with it. And the other thing we talked about was the Kobinger Park. The board gave the staff a go-ahead to put together a couple of proposals, one with lower dollar amount skating, or skateboard. Yeah. And then one with having partners and having a nicer one. And so they'll put some stuff together there and bring that to us. And that'll probably come to an exec session first also.
So we'll get 2 options at least to look at.
Yeah. It was a long meeting, but that's all we accomplished.
All right. How about police management?
We didn't have that long of a meeting. We talked about how to update on staffing. At the time, I think we were, one part-timer short, now we are two part-timers short, and, part-timers, in the police department for staffing, that's, if you need time off, if you need, somebody has to go to court, things like that. Part-timers are, that's where they fill in for a lot of shifts like that, so when we're short part-timers, that makes it harder for those things to occur, so, definitely a needed part of the force, so we are, looking for two part-timers. Let's see, the Oracle, Records Management System, that's the replacement, for the Phoenix, system with the county. That is on hold indefinitely, not really much of an update. That came charging out of the gate, and now it's kind of come to a screeching halt, so.
Why is that?
Don't really know, and I'm perfectly okay if it does, it's a wrong direction, but, so, no new update, nothing coming for a while, so. Squad car purchase, we do have, 9 Alpha tonight, so we'll talk about that, and then statistics were, pretty similar to last year, so, that's what I got.
All right. How about EDA?
EDA, we met last Monday. We set our officers for the year. We hadn't done that before. Mostly just updates. We had a market update, for homes for sale. Just the biggest thing is inventory continues to be super low. So with super low inventory and lots of people, looking to buy, that makes for unfortunately higher prices. Well, unfortunate if you're looking to buy, very fortunate if you're looking to sell. Talked about sales, there were 9 sold in the last 30 days in the 55308 zip code, so I mean, they're, people are getting into the market, they are selling. Let's see, we had the market update, and then just updates on like the business visits. So we had visited, let's see, it was like I want to say it was over 100,
130.
130. That was the actual visits where she'd gone out and, so lots of activity, from the business visits there. Update on First Children's, that's the daycare, piece, and, yeah, so we got.
All right. Fire Board met last night. We discussed the Red Path financials. We have a phone system over at the fire department that's not quite working well, so if you do need to call the main office, you may just have to leave a voicemail and somebody will get back to you, or email. And then we also had a summary of the fire relief program. They are thinking about moving to the statewide program versus the fire relief, just the Becker one. So we just got a summary. There was no decisions, nothing for us to make there. It's just information for us. And that was it. Any other reports? Okay. We will move into board committee and consultant reports. City Hall Police Department renovation project, Mr. LaRude.
Mayor Bertram and city council members, last September, the council approved the schematic design for the City Hall project and authorized Wold to begin plans and specifications. Consistent with that schematic design, John and Paige are here tonight to go through those plans and specs and a kind of a preliminary budget. Tonight, the request will be following the presentation. Certainly, it has a project may be amended, but no decision on financing. That would come, a more stronger analysis would be done once bids are received. But at this point, back in September, we also proposed some ballpark financing options, and those are where we're coming in with this project are consistent with that. So and that would come after bids have been received, if the council decides to proceed with authorizing bids. So with that, I'll let Paige present the project.
All right, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here tonight. So as Greg mentioned, we're just going to kind of do a little bit of a recap of the project, just to remind everyone of what we've been working so hard on the last several months with the team here. Let's see. So just a reminder of the scope. This is the current site plan that we are working with. The existing building is the black outline, and then the kind of white dotted outlines are all of our additions to spaces. So the additions include a new lobby and shared spaces for police and fire, or I'm sorry, police and city hall. So that would be kind of filling in that courtyard right out from the council chambers here. And then there'd be a new police garage, which would also be adjacent to a new break room and fitness center, and then a new patrol area as well. And then there would be renovations, full renovation to the police side, and then more of a minor renovation to the city hall side. This is kind of an interior photo, just kind of outlining what we're doing. So as I mentioned, in that infill area here in the courtyard, it would be a brand new lobby, brand new entrance to the facility, really kind of unifying police and city hall together. So it's more of a, everybody comes to the same place and then veers off in lieu of the two separate entrances that you guys currently have. And then it's gonna provide a new front counter and reception area for City Hall. Going to allow more interaction at that front counter, so it's not just maybe one interaction at a time. You can get a couple interactions going at a time. And then also a new secure police lobby as well. And then we are going to have a nice new open patrol area for some patrol offices and workstations. We're going to update the police locker rooms as well, give them much more adequate facilities and gender-specific toilet room and shower rooms, and then a shared locker room area for the clothes storage. Another area that we're hitting hard here is the evidence management. So they're going to get a full evidence storage room, evidence processing room that's going to be able to grow with them over time. We have a few renders of the building. So this is our exterior image. So this is what you would see when you're first coming up to the facility. If you'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen, that City of Becker, that is the current front entry. So what we're doing to kind of play down that as an entry, because now that's not going to be an entry anymore, we're looking at kind of screening that glass and just kind of minimizing that door. So the idea that would be a staff-only access point, and then all the public would go to that new central access point there. And so we're kind of mimicking a fin wall, trying to play off the existing one that we have there, and then do some new signage as well, and a nice clear story that's going to bring in a lot of natural light to that new public lobby. We're sticking with a lot of the same materials that we have going on out there right now, and really just trying to complement and find matches. We found some good matches to the burnished block out there and some of the stone as well. So it's going to look pretty seamless, which we're pretty happy about. And then looking right inside the lobby, so right as you're walking in, we're going with really durable materials. So, you know, longevity is kind of the key here. We want to make sure that it's going to hold up for quite some time. You're not going to have to kind of go in and, you know, be repairing walls. So that's why we're doing a tile wainscot there and then tile on the floor. We've got some accent wood in there to really warm things up. If you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's Becker city logo signage, and then kind of going with a river theme to the two-tone wood that we're showing on the wall there. We're also bringing that wood to the ceiling, again, just to kind of really warm up that space. On the right hand or on the left-hand side of the picture, that is our reception counter for City Hall. So there's two heights of counter there. There's an ADA counter and then a standard standing height counter. So, and then glass separating, but yet keeping it as open as possible is the idea there. On the right-hand side, just kind of on the screen there is a display case. So there will be an opportunity to display some city artifacts and history. And then that door just beyond there that you see leads into the private police sublobby. And then right back there is where we're sitting right now. That's the council chambers through the center. Then this is if you're turning kind of the other way, so if you're standing kind of where we are right now looking out. So just another view of that same space. Now on the left-hand side, that's your entrance into the police sub-lobby. And then we also have on the right-hand side visible a door that leads into a shared conferencing space that can be accessed from the public side as well as the private side.
Even got Susan in there. Right there. That looks like it.
I want to mention too that I mentioned the pop-up clear story windows, so that's what you kind of see up there with the high height there. That's going to really let in a lot of natural light to that space that would otherwise be, pretty deep and dark. So this is actually the old council chambers, the training room right across from us. We are keeping the wood ceiling in there and, the exposed structure, but really updating that to become a new training room EOC. So we'll, kind of dress it up a little bit on the walls, have some acoustical paneling in there to handle some of the sound issues. But then, just really leave that space open to accommodate large variety of different meeting types. And then the final space we have to show you is the new patrol area. So this is an addition space, so brand new. This is kind of that open office area where the patrol workstations would be. And then just off to the left-hand side on the screen here would be the private offices in that space. So the windows that you see on the back wall there, that would lead out to the new entry, kind of where the current courtyard is. Really bringing in some nice natural light to that space as well and giving the patrol officers a much better environment when they're in the building. So to touch on the cost estimating, we did this month do our third cost estimate of the project. We typically do an estimate at schematic design, design development, and then once more at construction documents before we actually bid the project. If you'll notice, we've kept things pretty well on track throughout the process. We've done some value engineering. Our numbers came in a bit high, so we really spent a lot of time looking at efficiencies. The space, the actual built area is very efficient already, so we didn't really feel the need to cut too much. We are planning for 2 alternates. One of them would be expanding the squad garage. So currently, I think we're allowing for 5 stalls. Now I'm blanking. 8. And then the update, the alternate, if it was chosen, would add 2 extra stalls. So that's one of the alternates that we're looking at, and then also re-roofing the existing building, because when we started this study, we identified that the existing roof is pretty well close to end of useful life. So if we can, replace that roof along with this whole project, it would be a great benefit to the city. So we're holding those 2 things out separately. And then we've also identified, there's a number of items here because we are still a little bit over on our cost estimate for construction documents. But we've identified a few items in the project costs that kind of are owner specific. So technology and furniture really it comes down to that just need a little bit more refining. So we're hoping that, through some continued efforts, we're going to be able to get closer to that that number that we're shooting for. So that brings us to schedule. So we are at that final council approval for bidding here at the end of March. We are on track to have our construction documents finished by the end of this month. So we would be ready to issue those documents out for bid in April if it is accepted by the council. And that is all I have for you today. But I'm happy to go back to any slide if you want to take a look at anything else or have any questions.
I remember we talked about the 2 additional stalls. I thought we talked about just doing it. Just adding them rather than as an option.
I would have to look at the committee.
Right. That we kept it separate to keep it as an alternate. But to lean towards probably trying to do it.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about an exec session.
Can you go back to your slide that shows the stalls in the police,
Yes.
and you had 8 there, and there was an option for 2 additional?
Two additional that would show up right, oh, sorry. That would show up right in here.
Okay.
I guess I still like the, I remember, I kind of remember what you're saying, I don't remember where we landed on, I remember having the discussion.
Yeah, I remember the discussion. I thought that we decided that we were just gonna add those 2 stalls.
I like having it separate, cause we may actually pay for it in a different manner.
Okay.
Like if you were to do this, you could finance some and you could pay, cause there is gonna be a cash investment too, so it is something.
No, that's fine. I just, like I said, I just thought that we had,
Agreed to want to do it.
yeah.
Yeah. How many, what is our police car fleet? 7?
Currently at 6,
6,
and this accommodates a couple for City Hall as well.
right. Yep.
And the potential for one of them being the evidence bay as well, so if a car is needed for evidence, it needs to be needs to be completely secured for a certain number of days, so this would have, one of those bays would be a evidence bay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good with it. I just,
All right. I don't think we have any additional questions.
nope.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paige. We do have an action request, though, for council.
So I would make a motion to approve the, plans and specs and, authorize us to go for bids.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any other discussion on that? With none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Thank you. And that'll bring the project to like the next step for decision-making, so that's very good. All right, lift station number 7, pump replacement with Mr. Listen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For your consideration tonight, we have an RCA and Resolution 2416 to replace the pumps in lift station number 7. The pumps are from 2005. They're not the originals, but they're from 2005. We expect usually about a 12-year life cycle out of those pumps, so we've well exceeded that, so we're very happy with that. The current pump's performance, staff did reach out to distributors and got 2 quotes. One is for electric pumps, so flight pumps. The other one is from Starnet Technologies for barns. Basic difference is the flight pumps are submersible, kind of your standard lift station pump. Barns pumps are chopper pumps, so they have basically little grinder wheels or grinder discs inside the bottom of the pump, and they can chew the stuff up a little bit more. The flight pumps actually were a little bit cheaper than the Barnes pumps. We do have money in our budget for the domestic wastewater for this year for $38,000 for those pump replacements. The quote for the flight pumps was $28,495. The Barnes pumps were just a little bit more than that, $35,50. I did include a little picture in there, just so you can kind of remember, if you weren't remembering where the lift station 7 was, kind of on the east side of the city, and then I just tried to give you a shot of how much of the city that station serves. So it's a very busy station for being a small pump station. Tonight then, I'm looking for a motion, a second, to approve the resolution 2416 to accept the quote from Electric Pump for the flight pumps for the quoted price of $28,495 and not to exceed $31,345, which is a 10% contingency. And I can answer any questions if you have it.
Yeah, you got me kind of puzzled on those difference in those pumps.
Yeah? Submersible, so, flight submersible pumps, so you have an impeller, basically, it's 2 discs. You got metal in the middle, so it makes vanes, pump spins, creates a little vacuum, pulls the water up and in, throws her out up the pipe, and off it goes. The chopper pumps, basically, instead of having two discs with a vane in the middle, they'll have a kind of a grinder wheel essentially. So as it spins against a flat disc, it's gonna chop up anything that it pulls in and then pushes that through.
Is that a submersible pump also?
They're both submersible, yep, they both be submersible in the station, correct, yep. You're seeing with the reg issues that people see, you've seen a lot more chopper style pumps being put onto the market.
That's what I'm getting at.
Flight's pumps they call them clogless pumps. So their design of their volute, they say it doesn't clog. Most pumps do clog at some point, but we've been very lucky in the city. So 7, for as much flow as it takes, we don't have a lot of issues with regs. So we didn't think going with the chopper style pump there was that important. The other piece of that is if you have a chopper in a lift station, it's gonna send a lot of smaller debris to your facility. Our current screen wouldn't necessarily catch all of that. The new screen we're getting would, but so that wouldn't be a concern after we replace that screen in the Headworks building. So most of our pump stations have flight pumps, so they're a very good
Okay.
pump.
You just answered my question.
The KSBs actually that are in there currently notoriously are pumps that clog a lot. These two have served them, we haven't had issues with them, so we'll take it. If it clogs tomorrow, don't tell anybody I said that.
So do you typically have more than one pump in a place then, like is there any I mean, this looks like a lot of territory to cover here with one pump. Is there redundancy?
So usually when you have two pumps and electric pump is in the metro, so if we need parts, we can get them very easily. Replacement volutes, impellers, they would have there in stock, so we can go down and get one if we need it. They have service staff that can come out, so I'm trying to think, I don't know if the other lift stations have the same size. Usually if you have two, it's very rare that they would both go out at the same time. So you can, if one does go down, so we've been short a pump in our industrial influence station for 4 months. So it took them that long to get whatever part I think it was waiting for bearings. So that's not normal, but that happened for some reason, so. So usually most stations are duplex, that's pretty standard, because then you obviously have a lead and a lag. If you have a really large amount of flow, your lead will kick on. If it can't keep up, the lag will also kick on, so you push more flow. And then they'll switch back and forth, so alternate each run cycle. So that way your pumps are running continuously as well. You don't have one just running all the time and one just sitting. That can be bad too, because then when sit will clog. Then when it needs to run, it's clogged. So,
Burn out quicker too.
yep. Yeah, they say if a pump could start and just run continuously, it'd be the longest life for the pump. It's the starts and the stops that are hard on the motors, so. So 2 is usually pretty standard. Some of our bigger stations, like 20 eventually could have 3 pumps. I don't know if I've seen a 4 pump station, but 3 is, if you get a big one, then usually 3 is standard. A lot of the pump manufacturers or like the electric pumps, like the vendors like that will have other pumps in their shop too. So if we had one go down and we're like, well, we're kind of concerned, usually they'll have one that you could use, put in temporarily if you're really concerned about it. Plus we have the vac trucks, so we do have, there was something really weird that happened, they both failed for some reason, we could do some work with that to keep it going until we grabbed some other temporary pumping situation and got it going, so. Now that we discussed all that, I'm sure it'll probably happen, but.
It won't happen because we.
I told you
That's right,
so.
we're prepared. Right, crack staff.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2416, accepting the quote from Electric Pump for the flag submersible pump, not to exceed $31,345.
I'll second that.
Motion from Robin, second from Mike. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator and staff reports. Police Department squad car purchase. Lieutenant Lindblom. Jazz hands, that's right.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Here tonight to present Resolution 24-13, which is our 2024 squad car purchase. If you recall, last year we did skip our squad car purchase. The squad has relatively low miles, so we were able to bump an additional year out of that squad. However, there have been some changes with Ford that now put that one at a higher mileage than we would normally have. Typically, in years past, we've ordered around the October timeframe with an arrival date of March. Ford made a mid-year model change this year, which kind of complicated things because they didn't allow us to even place an order for a new squad until I think February 28th here. So that just opened up, which has kind of pushed everybody's timeframes back. And therefore, if we keep the same timeframe that we've had the last few years, we probably won't look at even receiving our 2024 squad until October. And by then, that squad should have roughly 110,000 miles on it, which is past its normal use that we would keep them for. That being said, we are due in our CIP for 2024 squad car. One of the notes that I wanted to make you aware of is that since our last squad car purchase, the base price of our squad went up just over $9,000, which was a little bit more than we had anticipated the price going up. In looking at some of that, what ended up happening is when Ford redid their model year and their ordering, they now include options that are included in the base price that we would not normally have paid for in the past. So I guess for agencies that would want those options, it's a benefit, but for us in the past, we wouldn't pay for things like blind spot monitoring, collision assist, perimeter detection alerts, and things like that. Those are now standard, but in turn, we're paying a $9,000 difference in just the base price. We don't add a lot to the squad cars, so included in the packet was the actual purchase order, and you'll see that just with the couple options that our upfitter, which is the company that builds our squads, sends us a sheet saying, here's what we recommend you just get on them to make our life easier. We really don't add anything to the squad cars that is unnecessary. That being said, we do have it in the CIP this year. CIP set aside for $50,000 for the purchase of the squad car. This year, we're looking at $45,909.94. That is purchased through 1040 Ford in St. Cloud, which is the state bid for the squad cars this year again. And we've worked with them in the past. And the CIP does include upfitting as well, so any additional funds in the CIP then would be reserved for the actual upfitting of the equipment in the squad car. That being said, if you have any questions, I can take those. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to adopt Resolution 24-13 to purchase the 2024 Police Interceptor from 1040 Ford.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 24-13, approving the purchase of the 2025 police squad car.
I'll second.
Motion from Mike, motion from Rick, second from Mike. You were gonna say something though.
Yeah, he said 2025. Is it a 2025?
Yeah, so it's
Oh, it's a half model year.
yeah, so it's funny because it'll be our 2024 purchase. The actual squad model is we're buying a 2025, even though it's mid-year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other discussion? If none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. The 212-acre topography survey work. Mr. Sanders.
Just as exciting as a squad car and a pump. So tonight, well, for me, it's exciting. So tonight, before you, we've got as part of our ongoing effort to boost some development in the community and to figure out what to do with the 212 acres and design that. We reached out to Bogart Peterson to get a quote on topographic survey work. A topographic survey is really key into designing a site. You've got to have elevations of what it looks like, the contours on the ground to determine what your cut, what your fill, where can your structures go, are there limitations on the site. This site in particular, the city's 212, does have a bit of relief, meaning it starts high towards 67 and tapers off towards the river. So the quote that we had Bogart Peterson put together is actually two different things. One is a 50-foot grid, which is they do 50 feet and they take elevations every 50 feet on the grid. And then your contours, you and this is a word, interpolate where those contours are that show you the relief of the site. The other portion is where a lot of those trees are, where the house currently sits that will be removed. That's where a lot of the relief is. And so there, what Bogart put together was a 25-foot grid, so it's a tighter grid that gives a better idea of what that site would look like on that portion. We didn't feel it was necessary to do it on the whole site, but to understand that portion is really key. So before we move forward into doing a little better concept design of the site, this is really vital to have. And it's vital to understanding the utilities that need to go into place, the road, what are those elevations, what do we need to put into place. So we have some general idea of those, but this is needed to move into that next step. We would use funding from the land reserve CIP, or a land purchase reserve, and then it would increase the value for resale, similar to what our asbestos work that we had done on that house would. So with that, we're seeking for a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2415, which would accept the proposal from Bogart to complete a topographic survey on that site, and that would be in the amount of $16,450. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's a big site, so.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 24-15, entering a contract with Bogart Peterson.
I'll second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Calling for a public hearing on Chapter 2, Fee Schedule Amendments, Mr. Sanders.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. The item tonight would be a request to call for a public hearing at the April 2nd City Council meeting. The city uses two different consulting firms. So as you know, we use city engineering services through SEH, and we use city attorney and other services through BGS. As part of those, a lot of times what we see, industrial, commercial permitting activities, some of them can be fairly rigorous and require a lot of their time. And to recoup some of those costs, that the city gets charged for those reviews, and those reviews are necessary. So for example, depending on the scope of the project, if it's a quick trip, it takes a lot more review to kind of determine what can be feasible on the site from the city engineer standpoint, depending on if there's legal agreements involved, so the easements on that one, other things, the encroachment agreements, those all weigh into that. So the call for public hearing would be to amend the fee schedule to allow the city to charge what we get billed from those consultants back to industrial and commercial permit reviews. So it's really charging just for those. Residentially, we're not proposing to charge for residential. A lot of the development costs, when you get a new development, those are wrapped into the development agreement and escrows that are held as part of the plat or preliminary plat. So we're not proposing on residential, especially because what you'll also have is sometimes you'll get an individual who buys a property that was part of a development. You don't really need to charge back the cost of the review. They're fairly minimal on those, but we do see a lot of cost here. So staff is seeking for motion second to call for that public hearing on April 2nd at approximately 5 p.m. to amend the fee schedule. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
I know this is just calling for a public hearing, but how do we account for those fees today? Do we just kind of estimate and throw a flat fee when we do our estimates, or how do we?
Right now, there isn't really anything on the front end, so the city just eats those costs as part of our review. So when we get a permit in, for example, let's say it's Quick Trip, anything that SEH has to do in review, we'll get billed for that. Typically, there's a couple of month lag time. So we would have to bill those back to the consumer at what we get billed at. Typically, there's a couple month delay on that just by their billing process. But right now, we have no process to recoup those costs.
How does that line up with other cities? Because what I'm thinking is I don't want to basically introduce another fee all of a sudden. I mean, we just took the cost of doing business in Becker and, made it increase quite a bit, I guess. How are other cities dealing with this?
Yeah, I think we've talked a little bit about what other cities do. I think it varies. It just depends on the municipality. Some of the cities that are surrounding have in-house engineers and in-house legal, or if they're paying their legal, depends on the project. The legal isn't as much of concern on the industrial commercial as the engineering side. We don't use a ton of legal on those, but we do once in a while. So for example, Monticello, I think they have their own in-house engineer at this point. Big Lake, in-house engineer, but we do not. So those costs for them are probably much lower even with an in-house official, because we get billed at an hourly rate. So the answer is it depends on the municipality. And we can do a little more research and bring that back to see what other communities do for sure, but we can do that as part of this.
Might do that as part of the public hearing.
Yeah, we sure can.
And I guess I'm not, to some degree, you know, what other cities do. I mean, we don't need to just be parrots of other cities, but, if we could, you know, like a couple projects maybe that we've had and we say, okay, if this project were here, you know, it'd be kind of, you know, to see examples, I guess, you know,
Yep.
say the country lumber project, you know, that moved
Yep.
over there. If, you know, if this new building were in place, what would the increased fee have been for that?
Yeah.
And we could add it, still add it to the fee schedule, cause that would give you the ability to recoup it, but I'd maybe like to have discussion philosophically to see.
Sure.
Cause I'm a little bit concerned, if we just take the development costs and increase them by 50%, that could be an issue.
Yes, and that's a valid concern. We've talked about that as well. Would it, you know, inhibit growth? Because that's what we don't want to do. So, yep, absolutely. We'll be very cognizant of that. And I think also as part of that look, it will also determine how you want to actually phrase an amendment in the fee schedule, so you go that
Well, the
route.
other thing too, we have the public hearing and say we approve something, it would at least give us the ability, if we needed to,
Right.
take advantage of it.
It's more about, again, how you phrase the verbiage, and we'll do a little bit of looking internally and see how we can phrase that as well. But I think that's a valuable exercise.
Has this gone through any other committee or just right to council?
This hasn't gone through any other committee. Typically, the planning commission on fee schedules doesn't really get involved in that. If you'd like it to take it to another one, we can. That's something we're certainly able to do. Or if you want it to go through EDA as well, just for information, and see if they have anything.
I think we can just do a public hearing on it.
Yep.
But we'll bring back that info as part of that.
Perfect.
So since we're just looking to call public hearing here, I'll make a motion to, call for public hearing on April 2nd, approximately 5 PM, to consider changes to chapter 2, section 2.19, addressing the city's fee schedule.
I'll second that.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, Mr. LaRude.
Mayor Bertram and city council members, items for consideration on tonight's consent agenda include approving the hiring and termination report for the community center, police department, public works wastewater, and Pebble Creek Golf Course, approve renewal of the Safe Assure service agreement, adopt resolution 24-15 accepting a $2,500 donation from the BYSA baseball program for the junior ball fields, accept the annual code enforcement report from the Community Development Department, adopt resolution 24-17 approving the 2023 year-end fund transfers, approve the Pebble Creek asset disposal as detailed in the council memo, approve pay request number 5 in the amount of $102,772.45 to Latour Construction for the County Road 53 to Edgewood water main improvements. And I will stand for any questions.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second. Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Payment of the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:49 PM.